welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and we got a whole lot of content today. My gosh. We have a ton of viewer suggestions. I can't wait to get to them. And we have featured on the program some of my favorite folks from around YouTube. This show is where we look at what people are talking about on the internet, and then we tell you what you can do about it. Good news. There's a whole lot today. How is everybody? How are you out there? Zix asks, is that a new intro? We cycle them. That one's been around for a little bit, but we cycle through them. That one's a fun one, though. I enjoy it. We got Pixel Jake making an appearance. Ooh. Is this ready? Yes. We also have the return of the damage report. I haven't played some damage report in a minute on here, so we're going to have a look at that. What the heck? Let's get started with it. Why not? Okay, here we go. Well, John Idarola with the damage report recently did a piece wherein he looked at a policy pitch from Donald Trump. I guess you could call it that. What it really is nightmare fuel. Donald Trump, in an attempt to please his base, has made it clear that he will do everything in his power to assault minorities, to really keep his boot on the neck of people that haven't had a fair shot at the American experience. He's doing it by attacking any university that would dare make it easier for a person of color to attend. Let's have a look at this horror show.
The time has come to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left, and we will do that. Our secret weapon will be the college accreditation system. It's called accreditation for a reason. The accreditors are supposed to ensure that schools are not ripping off students and taxpayers, but they have failed totally. When I return to the White House, I will fire the radical left accreditors that have allowed our colleges to become dominated by Marxist maniacs and lunatics.
So this is Donald Trump effectively sending a signal to Ron DeSantis, like, I drink your milkshake. All that stuff that they like you for, do you have any idea how easy it is for me to just read the same lines out of a teleprompter? That said, I want to give credit to Donald Trump because he added in a few little extra authoritarian flourishes. The accreditation thing was fascinating, not only because he stumbled through the word and then said it's called accreditation for a reason, but then didn't provide the reason or any reason why he said that, which makes me believe that he has no idea what that term means. Did anyone else get that impression? But he does know enough about it, or at least whoever wrote that speech for him, Stephen Miller or something, to say that they are going to be arbitrarily removing or threatening to remove accreditation from major universities if they don't do insert a thing, insert whatever they want in the moment. And is this constitutional? Can you do this? I have no idea, neither do they. But what they do know is that they can threaten to do this and probably get quite a bit of value out of that, whether or not they ever end up taking away accreditation.
So a big part of the Republican playbook, and look, the whole breakdown is from the damage report. If you want to check out John Idarola's views on it, it is, of course, like all TYT products, misleadingly titled. I don't know why they said Trump snaps. I didn't hear him snap, but nonetheless, it is a good piece of media. But what is so important about this attack in particular is it speaks to what Republicans have always been about in a lot of different ways. Let me clarify. Let me break it down. Number one, they want to take any opportunity they can to make the United States less educated. If they can make Americans more ignorant, they will. It also is accomplishing just a blatant attack on minorities. It's reminding Trump's base that, hey, if you really want to get the good old lynching days back, well, I'm your guy. Any attack he can against people of color, he will take. And then, of course, to be specific with that, making sure they stay in their place. Making sure that they are of whatever the lowest caste we have is in America. That's what Republicans are all about. That's what Republicans have always been all about. Trump is just a blunt instrument. So I wanted to show that to you so that you could, if you happen to have the unicorn in your friend group and you have a person of color who supports MAGA, show them that. Just remind them what Trump and the Republican Party is all about. The full clip from the damage report goes into Trump's feud with DeSantis. I do agree that Trump is looking for just to remind the base that, hey, I'm your guy. I'm the real monster. This other guy is just diet monster. I think that's accurate, but I think DeSantis is a no-go for 2024. I just don't think he's got the stuff to make it. I think Trump is going to be too busy being in prison to run for or dealing with the many trials to sincerely run for president in 24. But regardless, this is larger than that. Whether either of those people wind up on the Republican ticket, it's irrelevant. This is what the Republican ticket in some way will be about. It's just a matter of how brave and how brazen they're willing to be. Trump lays it out. He says it exactly like it is, but let's not pretend like Mitch McConnell's different. If Mitch McConnell gets an opportunity to make Americans ignorant in any way, he'll take it. He gets an opportunity to make college a thing only for rich boys, he'll take it. He gets an opportunity to make black people's lives harder, he'll take it. This is what Republicans are. So make sure that everybody is aware of that. They are a party of hate, and by the way, they're a bunch of criminals. Get rid of them. 2024 is an opportunity to do that. See what the wicked community has to say. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, the accredited status is for making sure that the same standard is met and honored if you transfer to another college. Zick says, shh, Foxy, you're talking facts. Oh, God. Yeah, Zix says, I'm not sure whose voice is more annoying, Orange or DeSatan. Yeah, I don't know either, man. I don't know. I really think that the world will only be a just place if I get footage of one or both of them getting a punch in the mouth at some point in my life. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. In fact, allow me to take this moment to discourage that, because what I'm really hoping for is that they end up getting in a slap fight with each other. I think a pair of faux tough guys devolving into a sniveling, slapping mess would be hilarious, and that's what I'm really, really hoping for, what I want to see. Nobody touch them, but I do hope that we see these two end up in a extraordinarily unimpressive slap fight. Okay, this one was pitched by a member of the Wicked community. And as always, what I have done is written it down and then set my notes way over there for some reason. So I know Franny P, I know Wicked Foxy Dragon, I know Leon Chevalier pitched things we're going to look at tonight. So if this was you, thank you, because I found it enlightening. Let me start recording this puppy so that we can show it to the, what do you call it, the house later. Well, believe it or not, there is a representative who has a strong social media presence. By the way, I encourage all representatives, take advantage of free media. Do what Bernie Sanders does. Pitch your vision for America on social media. Doesn't matter if it's Facebook, doesn't matter if it's TikTok. Do it. It's free. Do it. Why would you not? You don't know how to do it? That's fine. Get an intern with a cell phone. It's the easiest thing on earth. Sway people. But you don't have to be loud and obnoxious, it turns out, to get a big following and to be persuasive. And in fact, here is a representative who has found a way to tell people the truth about what goes on in Congress without raising their voice. If I had more maturity, this is where I would do a supercut of myself flying off the handle just to lampshade that. But nonetheless, I admire this. Let's check it out.
Congressman Jeff Jackson, Democrat of North Carolina, has only been in Congress for a little over 100 days, but he is already reaching millions of people. He is the most popular House member on TikTok, with 1.7 million followers, more than twice the number of constituents in his district. The 40-year-old veteran of the Afghanistan war, who still serves as a major in the Army National Guard, was a North Carolina state senator for nearly a decade. In 2022, he ran for Congress in the newly created 14th district, which includes most of the city of Charlotte, and he won handily by more than 15 points. He's been using TikTok for years, but his number of views skyrocketed since he took his seat. Congressman Jackson uses the platform to explain important issues, like the recent court ruling in Texas on mifepristone, and to give viewers a kind of behind-the-scenes look at Congress, including in his most recent video on fake anger.
It's really clear from working there for just a few months that most of the really angry voices in Congress are totally faking it. These people who have built their brands around being perpetually outraged, it's an act. I've seen a bunch of examples. Here's one. I've been in committee meetings that are open to the press and committee meetings that are closed. The same people who act like maniacs during the open meetings are suddenly calm and rational during the closed ones. Why? Because our
Just for the record, I still think all meetings should be open all the time. I think it's regrettable that there's performative nonsense going on, but nonetheless, I feel like the people have a right to see what these people are up to. Just thoughts, but interesting point that he's making.
any cameras in the closed meetings.
And Congressman Jeff Jackson of North Carolina joins me now. You know, I got to say, Congressman, I first encountered you through the magic of the TikTok algorithm. And I had sort of followed your race, but I think I'd followed it and not seen your face, so I didn't connect the two. And I didn't actually know whether you were Republican or Democrat for a bunch of videos I scrolled down, partly because you took this very kind of nonpartisan, non-ideological, descriptive approach to what you're doing. Tell me about how you think about what you're doing in those videos.
Well, when I go home, people come up to me on the street, and the number one thing they say is, hey, I appreciate how you explained something. And they usually say something like, I appreciate that you explained it in a nonpartisan way or in a non-emotionally charged way or something like that. And what I've learned doing this is that there really is huge demand for just speaking to people with respect, with real information, and in a basically normal tone of voice. There's just a much higher demand for this than you would have thought, 6 months ago, given the general nature of politics.
This is what's so fascinating to me, man. I called you the anti-Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you're a white dude who looks like an AI Mid-Journey conjuring of a member of Congress.
A bunch of the comments are asking, is it AI? Is that a green screen? It's a kitchen. It's literally just my kitchen.
All three people on screen right now could be accused of the same thing. Just calling it like I sees it.
and there's a sort of incentivizing factor in social media. I think in fundraising particularly, a kind of loudest voice in the room kind of incentive. What do you think is going on with this sort of alternate approach and its success? Is it surprising to you?
I think it sort of disproves the general model of politics, which has been you have to be outraged in order to get amplified. I think we've just been feeding the general public outrage for so long that they're pushing back. They're saying, actually, we would prefer a more substantive approach. There is no way that these videos are getting this kind of traction if the old model of outrage politics is universally true.
You come from a state that is really interesting to me. It's a state Barack Obama won. It's a state that has a Democratic governor.
Everybody hold up. Look, I want to hear this line of questioning for sure. But I want to address outrage being a fad for a moment. Outrage is not a fad. It is not. There are things happening right now in American politics that would be shameful not to be outraged about. Fake outrage, the American people are sick of. These little toddler temper tantrums, the American people are sick of. Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I hope the American people are sick of. Her district in particular, it may as well be at the dead center of the echo chamber. I'm sure the most positive version of her trickles back to them. But by and large, the American people, what I see as having happened was the fake outrage used to work because the American people really did not follow politics very much at all. And that fake outrage drew their attention. But the problem is, it drew their attention. They started paying attention to politics. And, the people on the left who see Justin Pearson and Justin Jones and Zoe Zephyr being outraged and speaking passionately, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking passionately, and Bernie Sanders speaking passionately, although he's more of a grump than a yeller. But still, they understand that comes from a genuine place. When Marjorie Taylor Greene does her little rants and then gets shut down immediately for being a clown, or Matt Gaetz starts a hootin' and a hollerin' only to be told that he's getting his information from Chinese propaganda in front of God and everyone. That's what they're sick of. Now, it's fine. In fact, it's a strong technique to respond to outrage by being calm but firm. That's very effective. And in fact, I would recommend using that approach, generally speaking. But I wouldn't do what this guy is necessarily suggesting. Or not necessarily. What this guy may be suggesting. Which is to view it like old Hollywood producers used to view sci-fi movies. They saw Star Wars get really, really popular, and suddenly there was a bunch of garbage films about people with swords in space. Having missed what made Star Wars magic. And then Blade Runner comes out, and actually Blade Runner was a massive flop. But, the next Forrest Gump comes out and does great, and then everybody wants to do a movie about history. And then Titanic comes out and does great, and then everybody wants to do a movie about disasters. I think it's missing the larger point, which is what people are sick of is dishonesty. That's what they're sick of. And this guy is being honest when he speaks calmly. That is true to who he is. But I think the larger lesson is that the more Americans pay attention to politics, the more they can't stand fake outrage. And thank God.
Who's been elected and then reelected. It's also a state with a massive gerrymandered supermajority of Republicans in both houses. And recently, this crazy thing happened in your state in which a sort of normal Democrat, right, someone who wasn't known as a hard right-wing, conservative Democrat, switched parties, granting Republicans a supermajority they didn't have. I believe today she voted for a sort of anti-trans bill that she probably wouldn't have supported as a Democrat, and it's had huge implications for state governance there. You said that she's deceived voters. Do you have any insight as someone who served in that body on what the heck is going on?
I don't. It's incredibly strange. I have known her for 10 years. I didn't see this coming at all. I don't think a lot of people did. There might have been a few insiders in the state legislature that saw it coming, but she and I represent the same county. I know her family, and it was truly shocking. And the consequences are going to be even more shocking. There were 6 anti-trans bills filed the day after she switched parties and gave Republicans basically a supermajority and basically created one-party rule in North Carolina. To see her supporting legislation like this, it is completely different from who she was just a few months ago.
It is completely different from who she was pretending to be just a few months ago. She was a centrist Democrat. If you want to know why, I think Republicans are going to flock to the Democratic Party, it is because you can still be a liar there. One thing that I will give credit to MAGA for is they're pretty upfront about their hate. There's MAGA folks who will say that getting rid of slavery was a mistake. I despise these people. I would be wearing the blue to their gray any day of the week. But I can respect their honesty at least. At least they're out with it, you know? Genuine Republicans aren't interested in that nonsense. They're just trying to rob the American people. They don't want all the noise, all the yada yada race. They don't really care about that. That's just something they say, you know, so that they can get a check from a rich person, so that they can steal from you to give to that rich person. That's the cycle. Democrats are no different. Centrist Democrats saying that Jim Crow laws are bad, that's just something they say. Saying that trans people are human beings, that's just something they say. So that they can get a check and give massive tax breaks to the rich, so they can bail out another bank. Come on. That's all they do. They will be happy, delighted to have their friends, the Republicans, those who want to abandon that sinking ship, they'll be happy to have them. And there will be a place for them. They'll fit right in. This lady right now, who was last year a Democrat, supposedly believing in basic human decency, she finds it more advantageous to doom trans people on behalf of rich people. So that's what she's doing. It's not a surprise. She is a centrist Democrat. That's all it is. And most centrist Democrats will make that same calculation. Most are happy to let you drown if it means they can fill up a cup of water for themselves. Go left in primaries, folks. As left as you can.
We should say they're also proposing some ways of curtailing.
By the way, I see you, Wireless Mike. It's just a terrible time to say hi. Gonna bum you out, but hey, man, good to see you. Sorry I said hi during that incredibly depressing portion of the program.
Hailing gubernatorial power. Now that they have a supermajority, something that we saw them do in Wisconsin, Republicans, when they had a supermajority. The big issue that is going to be facing you and your colleagues is going to be a budget and spending bills and the debt ceiling. And as someone who is served in and serves now in the armed forces, it's looking like we don't have the numbers yet, but it's looking like the Republican plan is going to require somewhere we think in the neighborhood of a 22% cut to the VA. Again, in a 10-year window, this stuff is hard. They haven't produced paper on this. It's possible they exempt the VA. But I would just like to get your perspective on what a cut like that to the VA, to give one example of the cuts, would do, and whether that's something that you would support.
Well, first of all, the VA is already short-staffed by tens of thousands of people. When people say our veterans deserve better health care, the first thing you would do is fix the understaffing problem. Obviously, a cut to that degree is going to make that much worse. But honestly, the cuts just begin with the VA. Given all the things they've said they're not going to cut, if they want to meet their self-imposed budgetary targets, they are going to have to do draconian cuts across the board, do a whole bunch of programs for a bill that is dead on arrival in the Senate. It is just a terrible strategy, and frankly, I don't exactly see the end game at this point. I see the whole debt ceiling problem as one man trying to keep his job, and however Speaker McCarthy can figure out how to keep his job is how we're going to end up fixing the debt ceiling.
Boom.
All right, Congressman Jeff Jackson, pleasure to have you on. Come back. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, that's that guy's zone for sure. Calm, cool delivery. I would say take notes. Take notes from how he addresses these things. He is an excellent orator. I wouldn't say, though, that he's totally correct. I think if you are passionate about something and you can articulate your case well while being passionate, then yes, it's a benefit to show your passion. Further, if you were serious about the things you were talking about, if you're talking about literally the survival of a group of Americans, be they trans, be they black, be they white, it doesn't matter. If you're talking about the survival of a group of Americans, you should be passionate. People would look at you saying, well, listen, this bill, I feel, will severely hurt Americans who are listed as LGBT. No, they're not going to think you're serious. So use the style that serves what you are trying to say best. But that said, this guy's definitely got a point. It doesn't all have to be hooting and hollering. In fact, there is a case to be made for just stating the facts and letting people come to their own conclusions. Great suggestion. Thank you very much. Let's see what y'all have to say. Anti-corporatist, hello. Domenico, hello. Anti-corporatist says, I'm here too. Just been driving and getting gas. Now ordering a sub. Hi, fam. Oh, I'm so jealous right now. I could go for a sub. That sounds really good. There was a place that made a meatball sub that was so darn good. I don't even eat meat anymore. But I'll tell you what, I would absolutely go back on my oath if I could remember the place. It was in Howell, Michigan, that made delicious meatball subs. For that matter, if anybody wants to start a business, I'll pitch this stuff to you guys all the time just on the hope that the internet does its thing. If you can find a way to make a slaughterhouse that only gets the animals that deserve it, you know, like if you could find a genuinely racist pig, I'll eat that son of a gun. By all means. Or like a cow that cuts people off in traffic all the time. Yeah, I'll have those burgers for sure. So let's work on that, gang. I don't know why I'm allowed to have a camera. Oh, delighted to have y'all. We got more stuff here. We have just a ton of videos that people suggested, and it was one of those days where I'm just like, I don't want to cut any of this. So I guess this is a Wicked XL. We're going long, baby. We got some Tom Hartman, and that's catnip to your old pal here. So let's check him out. There we go. Well, we got Tom Hartman talking of, I think, here's my pet theory. I think he made this entirely so that you guys would notice and play the clip and tell me to play the clip on this show. I think Tom Hartman, he was too bashful to answer my email directly. I understand. But he still wanted to be on the show again. So obviously what he did was made this specifically for this show so that you guys would see it, and that's exactly what happened. Y'all saw it and recommended it, and we're going to view it here because Hartman is talking about what you can do to save Social Security without requiring the 217 members of Congress who voted against it to be your pals. Let's listen to the man.
With us, our old buddy Alex Lawson, the executive director over at Social Security Work.
Now, I'm just saying. It sounds a little bit like he's trying to get on the show. That's all I'm saying. It's just an observation. Tom Hartman's a secret fan of what you can do. You heard it here first.
StrengthenSocialSecurity.org or SocialSecurityWorks.org. SS Works on Twitter and ALaw202 on Twitter. And Alex, welcome back to the program. 217 Republicans just voted to cut Social Security is the headline. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so last week, first, Tom, thanks for having me, as always. Last week was a busy week in Washington, D.C. The Republicans working as hard as they could to ram through the House a bill that would devastate Social Security, the Veterans Affairs, so the VA and the Social Security Administration. I mean, just absolutely devastating cuts. And they would spur office closings across the country. I mean, I think, Tom, you and I have seen stuff like this before where the Republicans are demanding cuts and they're calling them anything but cuts, right? Spending caps, da-da-da-da-da. But I do think that something that's new here is just how, crazy the magnitude of what they put in there is. And I think it is the only way that McCarthy could get to the votes that he needed to get to, right? He literally gave just the Marjorie Taylor Greene caucus whatever they asked for.
Right, the Sedition Caucus.
The Sedition Caucus.
Yeah.
He knows that this is dead on arrival in the Senate. So his pitch was literally like, oh, don't worry about it. You can vote for these things because it's actually the negotiation is going to move over to the Senate. But the truth is, these guys just voted to cut Social Security and veterans benefits, 217 of them. Almost the entire caucus, Tom, voted for it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't muse about it. They put their name affirmatively on the vote to pass it out of the House.
Yeah, that really needs to be stressed. Go to every Republican voting person that you know and just work it into conversation, just check in, make sure they understand that 217 Republicans in the House voted to hack down Social Security. Look, it attacks them on two fronts. Number one, they're going after Social Security. People don't like that. Number two, it makes them look like liars. They booed Biden. No, we're not going after it. Boo Biden. How dare you suggest that we would go after Social Security? Well, then they went after Social Security. That's who they are. Just make sure the people in your life know about it. That's not even what you can do. That's just a little bit of work towards 2024 that we can get done now. Make it a regular part of the conversation that Republicans are against Social Security. There's no trick here. There's no gotcha. That's just fact. Republicans hate Social Security. Republicans are trying to get rid of Social Security. So, make sure the voters know that. If you have older voters in your life who tend to vote Republican, and as a matter of fact, you do have people in your life who are older and you can confirm vote Republican, guess what? They need to know that their Social Security is being attacked by Republicans. That is a fact that needs to become part of our regular conversations. Let's let the man keep going.
Let's hope the Democrats have enough political common sense to turn this into ads for all 217 of them, because every single one of them is standing for re-election a year from November.
Absolutely. So I hope, and there's every indication that that is going to be the case. We're going to do what small part we can at Social Security Works to lead the way. We've got a billboard up in Rep. Valadeo's district, which is in California, California 23. And that's one of the, there's a bunch of districts, Tom, as you and your listeners know, they're Biden districts. So they're districts that voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah, there's like 18 of them, right?
Exactly. And those are the ones where it's actually, you know, it's a Biden district by plus something. There's another like 17 of them where it's just barely a Trump district, right? So the playing field for the Republicans that they have to defend is pretty large. And we've got a billboard up today. Rep. Valadeo voted to cut Social Security and veterans benefits. Call and then his local office number. We've already got a protest planned for next week where we're going to get seniors and veterans down to his office. And I feel like the moderates,
Boom.
Tom, I don't really get why they were so blasé about voting for this. Did they not think that there'd be a huge reaction? That it would.
Let's just pause it here for a second. If you want to get a little bit more strategic, check who your representative is. Find out if they are a moderate. There's a good chance that one of these 217 dingbats is representing you. Don't let them get away with that. Here's how you hold them to account. When you're outside their office holding a sign, they're not going to be intimidated by the fact that one voter is out there holding a sign at them. They're not intimidated by the implication of that one voter. They're intimidated by the sign. Representative X voted to cut your Social Security. That sign outside of their office is a nightmare to them. So yeah, one person can make a massive difference. And by the way, it's true. Watch them try to deny it. What are they going to say if they walk out there? Well, that's not true. Now, I voted for reasonable reform in the budgetary. No. They're going to stumble and flee. They will be powerless in the face of your $1 floppy cardboard sign. Embarrass them. Make it something they suffer for politically. Make it something they have to deal with, because that is how you are going to pressure them into cutting out that nonsense. So if you're feeling squirrely, consider camping outside their office for an afternoon with a sign and a bottle of Gatorade. The Gatorade's for you. Stay hydrated.
It's something so out of step with their district. It's sort of mind-boggling when people make such huge missteps. But
they understand the media, Alex. The math that they're doing is that if Democrats had voted to give nationally, free vacations to Disneyland or something, whatever, just any kind of random thing that you could say, hey, that's pretty weird, it would be national news. But when Republicans vote to end Social Security or gut Social Security in this case, I watched a bunch of the Sunday shows this weekend, and I didn't even see it mentioned on any of them. The Republicans knew that the American mainstream corporate press is not going to call them out for trying to gut Social Security, because most of the American mainstream corporate press is owned by people whose first loyalties are to the Republican Party. So unless I missed something, I mean, tell me, do you know of any national media outside of maybe a single mention on Joy Reid or Chris Hayes on MSNBC that really made a big deal about this? And even they, I just haven't seen it anywhere.
Yeah, I've long passed the time when I'm waiting for the corporate media to tell our story, Tom. So
I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Consider sharing this stream around. I don't want to go back there because they're right. Share the stream. Make it popular. Don't make your old pal Jake go back to working for the devil. Actually, the folks I worked for were fine. They were doing the best they could in a bad situation, yada, yada, yada. But still, it's true. They have, they're in a position where they are at the mercy of advertisers. And we have allowed this system to be set up like it is. Go forward a little bit there. Christ. He's not, he's got unfortunate poses. Oh, everybody does. That's a good one. Yeah, the ask yourself what you would do. Let's say you're who's a middle of the road host? Joy Reid? Man, she's, believe it or not, she's been a fairly strong voice for justice in the last year. She's got a bad history with progressives, but whatever. You're a middle of the road host, and people don't outright say, we can't talk about this. But in the pitch room, where everybody's pitching pitching what they're going to talk about, what should be talked about, what they should go do the work on for the evening, like one person mentions the social security thing. I can tell you what that looks like. It doesn't look like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, whoa, we can't say that because our advertisers are in favor of getting rid of it." What it looks like is people going, "Okay, we'll put that. Yeah, let's put it in the maybe pile. Sure." And then the boss really reacts favorably to all the other suggestions and just doesn't really pay attention to the suggestion about the Social Security story. You're the host. Are you going to, every single time that happens, put your career on the line to say, no, we're telling the Social Security story? Maybe you'll do it once, maybe you'll do it twice, but that's how insidious it is. It's not a grand monster to be slain. It's a general resistance to telling those kinds of stories. That is, just like we say, results in change. That resistance is light but constant. And that has a tremendous effect. It is like the tide. Any individual wave you can weather, but you can't beat the tide. It's the structure. And yes, that's one of the things we will have to deal with eventually. We will have to build a better peer. But in the meantime, we simply have to be aware of the fact that this message will not go out without effort. So the effort must come from us. It is true, Republicans are trying to cut Social Security, and it is our job to let people know. Guess what? It's old school times. It's one if by land, two if by sea times. Go around, tell your neighbors. The douchebags are coming.
Oh, those are the bosses, are the people who put the commercials on. Pharma, big insurance. So, I do think you're right that the corporate media is not going to run with this that much, but there is another angle to it, which is the White House. President Biden continues to hammer on this. He sees it really clearly. He's pushing a clean debt ceiling raise, and he's doing it by attacking the Republicans on their plans on Social Security and Medicare. And we're seeing the same thing out of the Senate, with Chuck Schumer saying that's where he is as well. So I do think that is getting media attention. And as long as the Democrats stay on the on offense here and just keep hammering away at what the Republicans have done, where there's been little moments is when the Republicans, cry out in terror or anger that they're being called out for doing exactly what they are doing. Right. There was, from the House floor, they're saying, why are you accusing us of cutting veterans benefits? And everyone's like,
Yes.
because you are, man. That's what's in there.
'Cause
That's
you're
what's in
trying
there.
to.
It's what you did.
Yeah. So Alex, you said you've got a billboard in the district of one of these 18 Republicans who are in a district that voted for Biden. We had a conversation. I had a conversation with a caller last week who was calling up and asking, pardon me, I had to sneeze. Who called up and was asking, what does it cost for a billboard? Is this something we can do? First of all, what does it cost? And I'm assuming that people can support you at socialsecurityworks.org if they want to kick in for.
Just for the record, I don't think that the billboard is necessarily the way to go. Let's listen to what he has to say. But I do love thinking outside the box like that. And hey, maybe in your area, billboards are cheap. If so, and you got a couple of extra $100, what are you giving it to the billboard for? Give it to me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, why not? Get a billboard listing off the people in your area, in your state, that voted against Social Security. Why not? Couldn't hurt.
Chip in to help out with these kind of things. But is it something that even local activists can do? Our billboard, I remember years ago, more than a decade ago when I was doing local radio here in Portland, we could buy billboards for, a few $100s a month on the main freeways through Portland. It was a little over $1,000 a month. They weren't that expensive. What's happened to the price of billboards?
It depends on your media market, obviously, Tom, as you know. They're a little more expensive than that. But a few grand for, a good placement. Yeah. The key thing that I would note, though, is I don't think grassroots activists, unless there's a really good shtick, right? Like, unless you got a really good angle, like the billboard right above their office or something. Mm-hmm. I actually think grassroots-wise, the best thing to do is to just gather. You don't need many. Gather 4 people and go to their offices, right? Go to their local district offices with signs that you just made on poster board. Hands off our Social Security and let the media know. Exactly. I think that has a lot more impact for the grassroots. So what we're always trying to do with our billboards is actually sort of signify that we're doing something in that district. And then we try to move it to a billboard truck so that we can have the truck sort of follow the Republican around or show up at the protests outside their office more as a way of showing the grassroots that, we're working on this. So definitely you can come to socialsecurityworks.org and plug into all of our activities. We are going to grow this campaign with our partners and allies in the districts into every single one of those districts. There's already some amazing work being done on that front. WFP in New York, the California Alliance for Retired Americans in California, for example, and we're going to partner with both of them. But really, I think the thing to do if you are grassroots and you're angry and you're looking to get involved is get organized. Find an organization that's doing stuff in your area, local indivisible, the Working Families Party I just mentioned, or an organization like California Alliance for Retired Americans.
Local Democratic Party.
Local Democratic Party. Find your people, get organized, and stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Right. And if you can get the media to show up at an event about these Republicans voting to cut Social Security, you just damaged that person's ability to get reelected by a sizable amount. So do not discount what you can do by just getting the word out about what these Republicans are up to.
Amen. We're talking with Alex Lawson, Executive Director of Social Security Works. And Alex, as you recall from back in the days when you used to fill in for me here on this program.
That sounds interesting. We might even play it. But I do surely want to talk about that piece. In fact, we're already at like 19 minutes on this thing. Let's return to that later. Okay. Really, really great strategy from Alex over there. What can you do? Pretty straightforward. If there is a representative in your area that voted, just conceivably in your area, that voted against Social Security, that voted to gut it, get your signs, get your markers, get a couple of friends, and Call the local news. That is such an underappreciated thing. In fact, we're talking about getting multiple birds with one stone. Here's a way you can help the local news as an industry while also fighting for truth. You want to know what it's like being a local news person? You're just exhausted at the end of the day. At the end of the day in which you are paid. But you're not done working because you got to show up to tomorrow's meeting, the pitch meeting in the morning, with an idea at the ready. So you go home in your car that's rattling and covered in rust. And with your eyelids heavy, you're scrolling through emails trying to find what tomorrow's story will be. Make it easy for them to cover what you're doing. Write your local news. If you want to write the assignment editor, fine, write the assignment editor. I would recommend writing an individual news person. And in every article, or in a well-functioning news station, every time somebody does a story, they'll also put an article online with a video clip of their story in it. If you click on their name, the author's name, it should take you to a contact page where you will have their email address. Write them and tell them you're going to be posted up outside Representative X's office. You will be making a big stink about the fact that they voted to gut Social Security. In the course of doing their news story, that reporter will, of course, call their office and ask them for an explanation. Did you vote to gut Social Security? Of course, they'll be able to look it up themselves and verify the truth of it. It is a devastating political blow to have stood against Social Security in any way, shape, or form in the United States of America, as it should be. As it should be. Don't let them get away with doing a vote like that and not paying the political consequences for it. Those days in the United States have to be over. Excellent suggestion. Thank you very much. Let's see what the Wiki community has to say. All due respect, Jake, your car might be rattling and rust-covered because you live in Michigan. In Texas, our cars get sun-beaten and the AC blows at the worst possible time. Yeah. That's a salt on the road thing for sure. Look, if there's anything we can agree on, it's that news people are poor. I actually, honestly, think I think news folks, like local news folks, should be paid a living wage, just like anybody else. But I do think they shouldn't be paid an amount that makes them live any better than the average folks in their area. I do think it's ridiculous the way things are currently operating, but there is value in understanding what the average person goes through. And I don't want us to return to the days of the 1970s where it's like minor royalty. Zick says every industry has its grunts. True. In the local news industry, though, it's unsustainable. There's literally people working like, it would sound like I'm making it up, but like 70, 80-hour work weeks, and they're getting paid less than minimum wage because of the way their contract work. It's not even a matter of right and wrong. It's simply not sustainable. But I also think that the market will correct that a bit. Jake, I feel like this is personal, LOL. It is personal, yes. I do really want to stress, though, the local news is a resource that is so easy for you to utilize. If you want attention on something, particularly if politicians don't want attention on it, use the local news. Use it. That's what they're there for. Right now, they are only really utilized by, like, I mean, not necessarily bad folks, like, you know, local libraries letting you know about a new event that's happening. That's fine. That's okay. But you can use them to highlight the stuff you really want to talk about just by writing an email and saying it's going on. Oh boy. There is. Oh boy. Yeah, I do want to show you this Taylor Swift clip. Words that I never thought were going to come out of my mouth. What do you say? Let's record this. There is a recording artist by the name of Taylor Tay Swift that you may have heard of. She's a, I don't know what, a country singer, a pop singer. She's made I don't know how you categorize her, but she's made a couple of real good songs. Very, very popular musician. Well, it turns out she's based as against the advice of her father, who I can't really hold it against him because he's advising his daughter not to anger a bunch of psychopaths. Against the advice of her father, she made it a point to speak out against the growing fascism in America, the growing hate group that is the Republican Party. Brian Tyler Cohen did a report about it. I saw the Tay clip, not what Brian Tyler Cohen had to say. I wanted to save that for y'all. So here's an amazing clip of Taylor Swift, followed by some commentary by Brian Tyler Cohen. Let's see what we can do about this.
We've not got involved with politics or religion.
Yeah, but this is on the home front. And also, back in the presidential election, I was in such a horrendous place that I wasn't going to pop my head out of the sand for anything.
Why would you? I mean, does Bob Hope do it? Did Bing Crosby do it? Does Mick Jagger do it?
Hell? Come on.
No, what I'm saying right now is
Bob Hope and Bing Crosby.
These aren't your dad's celebrities, and these aren't your dad's Republicans.
Well, imagine if we came to you and said, hey, we've got this idea that we could halve the number of people that come to you next tour.
And the other thing, just from a security standpoint,
you think
Taylor Swift comes out against Trump.
I don't care if they write that. I'm sad that I didn't 2 years ago, but I can't change that.
That is a GD role model. Hell yes. Yeah, you can't just stand there. I know, people don't like celebrities talking about X, Y, or Z. Well, guess what? You can't just stand there being immune from reality because you have so much money and fame and let the rest of us boil and call yourself a decent person. I get why her father's, you know, I can look at her father charitably, let's say. That's his baby girl, and the Trump followers are a bunch of terrorists. I understand. But Taylor Swift is a grown woman who, in that clip, in the first 45 anyway, is acknowledging the danger, is acknowledging the hit her career might take, and is saying, nonetheless, there are things more important than my fame, my money, my place in American pop culture. There's people that are actually suffering, and goddamn, am I proud of that one. Well done, Taylor.
I'm saying right now that this is something that I know is right, and you guys,
boom.
I need to be on the right side of history, and if he
boom.
doesn't win,
Yes,
then
you
at least I tried.
Taylor,
yes.
Here's the problem.
I just want to read you what I wrote, and I'm going to try to start. I just really want you to know that this is important to me.
I
and this
totally
is something
agree with the issue, but let me explain to you. Yes, I've read the entire thing, and the bottom line right now, I'm terrified. I'm the guy that went out and bought armored cars.
I worry for her safety as much as anybody does, maybe more.
It really is a big deal to me. She votes against fair pay for women. She votes against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which is just basically protecting us from domestic abuse and stalking. She votes, she thinks that if you're a gay couple, or even if you look like a gay couple, you should be allowed to be kicked out of a restaurant. It's really basic human rights, and it's right and wrong at this point. And I can't see another commercial and see her disguising these policies behind the words Tennessee Christian values. Those aren't Tennessee Christian values. I live in Tennessee. I am Christian. That's not what we stand for. I need to do that.
I mean, come on. Go Taylor Swift. Hell yes.
I need you to just, I need you to forgive me for doing it, because I'm doing it.
You don't need him to forgive you, Taylor. I understand he's a father, but my God, get that hug. There you go. No forgiveness necessary for Taylor Swift for standing up, for being a decent human being in an era where you can be excused for just hiding. That's some Dolly Parton level bravery, and I commend it.
This is Taylor Swift in footage from her 2020 Netflix documentary talking about how she's determined to speak out against Republicans and their extremism, particularly Donald Trump and her home state Senator Marsha Blackburn. Swift later endorsed Blackburn's Democratic opponent in the 2018 Senate race and then endorsed Joe Biden in the 2020 race against Donald Trump. And let's just say Marsha Blackburn didn't take too kindly to that.
If we have a socialistic government, if we have Marxism, you are going to be the first ones who will be cut off because the state would have to approve your music. And, you know, Taylor Swift came after me in my 2018.
What the hell is she talking about? The state would have to approve your music. Garbage.
Campaign. But Taylor Swift would be the first victim of that, because when you look at Marxist socialist societies, they do not allow women to dress or sing or be on stage.
Shut up. Oh my God. Tell you what, let's just talk about this on the other side. I don't need to hear Marsha Blackburn rattling on about nonsense. I was there for Tay-Tay. Have you noticed that whenever the GOP talk about socialism, they don't actually talk about socialism? I'm convinced that most of them do not know what socialism is. I'm convinced that at least as many don't believe, or at least a significant chunk of that number don't believe that it's a real philosophy. And I think it's extraordinarily telling that they don't actually deal with the nuts and bolts of what it involves. They only talk about what they believe it looks like. They're like, socialism. Listen, who wants to wear fur hats? See, it makes no sense, but that is how they view these things. Kudos to Brian Tyler Cohen for sharing that. I mostly wanted to share it with you so that you would have the opportunity to reach out to Taylor Swift on social media and tell her, atta girl. She did a hell of a job. There are, she's from the South. She got her start, at least to my knowledge, in an extraordinarily conservative wing of entertainment. For her, it's a bigger deal to stand up against Republicans than it is for Killer Mike, because people buy into Killer Mike's act knowing exactly where he stands. Good for her. Hell of a good job from Taylor Swift. No notes for Tay-Tay. Go tell her on social media that you approve, if you, in fact, you do. Let's see what y'all have to say. Patrick Kibido says, it's hard to feel sorry for Taylor Swift, but good to know she brings like 400 million followers to a social media fight. And she is right on the policies. Absolutely. Absolutely. Zick says, I don't know. Women in Sweden seem to dress okay. Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. Mars Falcon says, that's going to get her killed. Blackburn is her senator, correct? Unfortunately, correct. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, check out the balls on Swift. Absolutely. Interesting. That pros support you or your company pay extra for. The support guy on the phone. Interesting. Yeah, I'll read through some more of these comments in a minute. Zick says, I guess I'll do it now. This is interesting. Zick says, music has been fighting for centuries. Remember Shostakovich. Why you do this to me? Shostakovich, son of a gun. Shostakovich defied Stalin and lived. Hell yeah. And I will start saying Shostakovich correctly. That is true. Music has been the sound of progress for a long, long, long time. Well, folks, there is a clip by Beau of the Fifth Count that I'm unsure what to do with. I think we're going to hold off on it this time. And I will share it for the Wicked community in the community tab. I'll put out a message later. I have so few notes, other than to say I agree wholeheartedly with the man, but I'm not sure that I want to do Wicked on it just yet, because it does seem like the sort of thing we should discuss a little bit more. We'll talk about that more coming up, but in the meantime, this has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a like. Lord knows I appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. My gosh, I'm out here working for you. And hey, share it around if you think it's going to be of value to other folks. We want to grow this community. The more of us there are, the more we can do. I think it's going to be fun. The closer we get to 2024, the more we can organize stunts like going outside and having a couple people in each of these 217 knuckleheads districts protesting. I think we can have a tremendous amount of fun doing things as a community across the country and around the world together. I'm looking forward to that day. But in the meantime, this has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Oh, my name's Jake.